We started off the day with Rutgers leading Ohio State 9-7 at halftime. And then we got the game in the mid-afternoon time slot where Iowa defeated Northwestern at Wrigley Field 10-7. And then we get a glimpse of the future of the Big Ten with USC and Washington. Is this what's in store for the future of our beloved conference?
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
Elite offense or atrocious defense? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Why can't it be both? Why can't I have my cake and eat it too? That's kind of the situation. That's kind of how I looked at this game between USC and Washington as I dive into this special reaction of future Big Ten teams. There is absolutely no doubt in the world that Caleb Williams and Michael Penix Jr. are two of the very best and most talented quarterbacks in all of college football. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that all kinds of players on both of these offenses are going to be playing in the National Football League someday. But I will say this about this USC and Washington game. There were some big plays down the field that it seems like I don't want to call these defenses out too much. I want to try to be nice to some of our future Big Ten teams. But sometimes it just seemed like there was a lack of effort on the defensive side of the football. I've been reading some of the complaints from USC fans about Alex Grinch and that defense. And I agree. I've kind of kept my eye on the Trojans a little bit out of the corner of my eye. Same with the Huskies. Same with the Ducks. Same with the Bruins, right? Been trying to keep an eye on them. Of course, I'm dead focused on the Big Ten, but I've also, I'm not totally tunnel visioned on this year. I kind of got the corner of my eyes looking at some of these teams that are going to be coming into the conference here next season. But like short yardage situations, right? When they get inside the 15-yard line, get inside the 10-yard line, it just seemed like it was always going to be a touchdown, like an automatic touchdown. I know. I looked at Iowa and Northwestern early in the day. I know that is the blackest of black holes and the surface of the sun difference, night and day type of difference between the talent level between the Iowa, Northwestern, and USC and Washington. I get that, but when Iowa came to make a goal line stand against Northwestern, they came and they hit the hard and they filled every gap and they just plunged towards the other side of the line of scrimmage to make a play. But then when I get into short yardage situations, once again, I understand the humongous talent gap. When we get into short yardage situations, it just didn't seem like the Washington defense or the USC defense really, they never had a shot in terms of stopping some of those touchdown runs and some of those touchdown plays. That's just the way I see it from my point of view. I've said this many times before. I don't think this type of play, I don't think 52-42 is the future of the Big Ten, and I don't think 10-7, right? I'm going to reference that Iowa Northwestern game again. I don't think 10-7 is not the future of the Big Ten. I always said it's somewhere in the middle. Teams that are really good at defense, that aren't as good on offense, they need to get a lot better on offense, and these Pac teams that are great on offense and bad on defense, they need to get a lot better on defense. They need to meet somewhere in the middle. In my opinion, Oregon is maybe the best built for the Big Ten in the future, but I'll save that for another video down the road. I thought the run game for both of these teams was really good. Of course, Dylan Johnson, man, you really saw him kind of come into play in that Oregon game, and he's been steady. Like a lot of focus, goes to Michael Penix. It goes to Roma Dunze. It goes to Jalen Polk. It goes to this pass game for the Washington Huskies. But man, Dylan Johnson is becoming a huge part of this offense in the run game, and it's very exciting to see. And I know Washington, they did not have the greatest of games coming off that win against Oregon. The Arizona State game wasn't great, and the Stanford game wasn't great. And I know you're taking on a USC defense that has given up a bunch of points. Look what Cal did against the Trojans. Like, There's a lot of offenses across college football that are probably going to have their best days against this USC defense. I understand that, but it's still a Pac-12 team. It's still going on the road, and Washington is still undefeated. I thought coming into this game, I know I didn't really touch on the channel prior to this matchup, but I thought the team that maybe leaned into the run game a little bit was a little bit more balanced, was going to have a better chance to win. Austin Jones did pretty good for USC. I like to see that. Remember when USC ran that flea flicker, I believe it was a touchdown pass to Taj Washington? That was set up by the run game. Okay, and then the Caleb Williams is so fun to watch. I understand the comparisons to Patrick Mahomes, and I get that, and it makes sense. He's got a little bit of that Fran Tarkenton, Johnny Football type of magic where, he's got the ball kind of hanging out here a little bit, and that's where you saw maybe what ended up being a difference in the game where he fumbled it and Washington took it in for a touchdown off of a turnover. But man, is he magic. He's magic. It just seems to me at the NFL level, he's going to have to cut down on that quote-unquote magic. Right, and he's not going to be able to scramble around, spin away, and do all these sorts of things against players that are bigger, faster, and stronger at the NFL level. Right, maybe need to get more disciplined within the pocket. Maybe it's great to see him get outside the pocket and make those plays, and maybe he'll be able to make some of them at the NFL level, but it's just for him to do all these things, against some of those guys that are bigger, faster, and stronger in the NFL. I don't know if that's going to work. This was always going to be about a game where the defense is going to make a ton of stops. No, it was going to be about the turnovers first, and they kind of split them, right, in terms of big turnovers. I mentioned the fumble that led to a Washington touchdown, and then Washington was marching, and then they threw an interception in the end zone to USC, but a late stop is what ended up being the difference in the game for the Washington Huskies. When you get in these shootouts, back and forth, points, touchdowns, it's one stop. Those coaches on the sidelines are saying, give me one stop and we can win the football game. At the time, I thought that stop was when USC stopped Washington and held them to a field goal. I thought that was going to be the stop. I said, that was it. If USC can take care of business, if they can keep doing what they're doing, then they can go down the field, take the lead, and now they are in control of this football game. But you got to give credit. And Washington kind of did the same thing in the Oregon game that I covered. They made key stops when they absolutely needed to. Man, you talk about bend but don't break. They are bending this far until they're absolutely about to break. And then they just prevent it from breaking. That's kind of what Washington has done in some of these games, like the Oregon game, the USC game, but they remain undefeated. Look, I know at this point in the season, you are what you are. Washington, it seems, has to be a team that's got to outscore you. And defense has to make a few stops. Is that a team that can win a national championship? I think that remains to be seen. Who knows with Georgia, right? Played a closer game with Missouri this week. They got Ole Miss next week, right? You got some games down the stretch. You don't have that elite team. I'd be very curious, we're talking about the Big Ten, if Washington does get into the playoff, if they get in there and they got to play an Ohio State defense, they got to play a Michigan defense, something like that, right? Where we're talking about the Big Ten, and you get a future Big Ten matchup, and you have that defense, what's going to happen? Okay, if you can't outscore them and you maybe dial it in to a Big Ten physical type of matchup, can Washington find a way to win in that type of a matchup? It's going to be very interesting, but this was a heck of a game, a heck of a football contest. I know there's going to be a lot of players that won't be playing Big Ten football, but it was great to see the Trojans and the Huskies play a magnificent football game. Big Ten is looking pretty bright. The future is bright. I can't wait for 2024. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Great offenses or just really bad defense? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'm Big Ten Ted. We will see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.